Okay. I call to order the November 14th, 2023 meeting of the Las Virgenes-Malibu COG Governing Board. Will the Executive Director please call the roll?
Yes, I will. Paul Grisante.
We have Doug Stewart here with
Yeah,
us.
we've got a lot going on this morning in Malibu, so I'm not sure if he's going to be here or not.
Okay. Okay. I wasn't sure. Thank you. So Doug Stewart,
I'm here.
Alicia Weintraub,
Here.
Kelly Honig.
Here.
Let's see. Who am I missing? Penny Sylvester.
Yeah.
President Gold. I'm sorry.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Item number 2, approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any changes to the agenda? If not, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Councilmember Sylvester moves to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. Will the Executive Director please call the roll?
Yes, just one. Okay. Doug Stewart,
Yes.
Penny Sylvester,
Yes.
Alicia Weintraub,
Yes.
Kelly Honig,
Yes.
President Gold.
Yes. Public comment period. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the governing board? I don't see any hands up. Terry, have you received any public comments electronically?
I have not.
Stephanie, I see your hand up on public comment.
Morning. I just wanted to introduce myself. I apologize because I'm driving to a training, but my name is Stephanie Mullen and I am the area representative for LA Metro, and I look forward to participating in this meeting and future meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. If we don't have any more public comment, then we're on to our next item, which is the consent calendar. The consent calendar items will be approved in one motion unless removed for separate discussion or action. Would anyone like to remove an item from the consent calendar? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved that the consent calendar be approved.
Second. Thank you. Will the Executive Director call the roll?
See, since Paul's here, I'll go back to Paul, if that's okay, Doug. Okay. Paul Grisante. Nice to see you, Paul.
Thank
Paul
you.
Grisante,
Yes.
Kelly Honig,
Yes.
Penny Sylvester,
Yes.
Alicia Weintraub,
Yes.
President Gold.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Next item is the information items. I'd like to welcome Assembly Member Jackie Irvin to our meeting. We really appreciate you being here. Welcome.
Thank you very much. All right. Would you like me to just get going?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. I am sitting at home and I'm going to be getting on the freeway to go over to our PCH task force meeting over in Malibu. We've been working with the city of Malibu and Caltrans and a number of other agencies after the tragedy that happened to the 4 Pepperdine students, and hoping to be able to make some progress this morning. So just wanted to let you know a little bit about what has been going on. We have in a lot of your cities, we have done scam seminars, which have been very successful. And I think we were in Calabasas and Simi and Thousand Oaks in 1 week. If any of you are interested in partnering with us, we would be happy to come to your city. Well, probably now it'll be next year. Tomorrow, we are going to be having a rev and tax hearing in the city of Westlake. And it's a subject that a lot of cities are very keenly interested in. We've heard so much, we are going to be featuring what's happening in CME, which is that's basically they have cement mixing companies that are trucks are really wearing down their roads, but they're not getting any of the tax revenue on that. So this is even back from my days on the city council. It's been a big issue. So for any of you that are interested, we would love to have you come and join us if you are not doing that already. I just want to talk, I really want to hear more about your questions, but I do want to highlight two things. Normally we would be talking about housing bills, but we already know where all those go. But let me talk about two things. I authored, along with Susan Eggman, we authored two bills that are going to be that have been combined and are going to be Proposition 1 on the March ballot, and this is the Mental Health Initiative. It's a $6.38 billion bill that will first put $1 billion toward veteran housing, but as opposed to the VHHP program, there is going to be significant mental health and substance abuse services with that money. There is also going to be money for 11,000 mental health beds, which are critically needed, as most of you remember that back in the 60s, the mental health institutions were closed across the state. And if you look at our homeless population, if you look at our jail population, I would say that a significant portion of those people should have been served by those mental institutions. The promise was also always that there was going to be care in the local communities, and that never materialized. So if Proposition 1 passes, that will be the biggest expansion of mental health services. Beyond that, there are going to be programs for early intervention in the mental health arena. So it's polling very well, especially with the veteran portion, which was the part of the bill that I put through the legislature. And at the end, we were able to get an additional $1.5 billion for cities and for counties to help with some of the impacts of the MHSA funding being reallocated. So I'm happy to answer questions on that after, if you have additional questions on that. The last thing I want to bring up, and I hope that you really do get involved with, many of you have started to hopefully see what they're calling the utility tax. And was something that was, we didn't even know was snuck, and unfortunately, this is the ugly part of how things work at the state and federal level. In a energy trailer bill last year, there were 4 lines put in that allowed the PUC to basically remove the cap for the flat tax for utility bills, and fast track a PUC decision on what a flat tax should look like. And initially, I mean, they're talking about income graduated. So you would have to give in how much do you make, 150,000. Well, this would be your utility tax on top of a flat fee. So we became aware of it when the PUC hearings started. 22 assembly members a couple of weeks ago put in a letter telling the PUC to slow down and really look at the impact of a flat tax. Basically, what would happen is the first third of the incomes, they are already under the CARE program, so they already have subsidized utility bills. But everybody in the lower socioeconomic range, or middle class, beyond that 30% would see their bills rise. And people at the very end of the scale, the ones that are the very large energy utilizers, would see their bills go down. But you will probably be hearing a lot from your constituents about this. We are happy to send you the letter that we wrote. We have no excuse for missing it in a bill. Everybody was looking at Diablo, and the administration put it in a bill, an energy bill, just 72 hours ahead of time. And I can tell you, not a single senator or assembly member that I have spoken to knew that it was in there. So what I'm asking is that you let your senators know that, I mean, Ben is already very upset about it, but let your senators know. And I'm hoping that the league takes a position against it, because everybody is going to have angry constituents once they realize what is actually going on. So I think that that's about it. I mean, I could talk about a whole bunch of other things, but I would really prefer to answer questions that you specifically have.
Thank you so much.
Jackie,
Yes.
thanks so much for being here. Can we get more information about the utility issue and how it might impact our constituents?
Yes, well, we will, we'll send you I think, Nancy, if you can make note of it, the assembly letter to the PUC and a couple of the articles on that are coming out and what you can do. That PUC hearing is going on, and they're going to make a decision by mid, I think by June. And just so you know, just to be really clear, there was already the authority to have a $10 flat fee or a $15 flat fee. None of us are opposed to that. I mean, that's sort of what the average it might be in the United States. But PG&E, their first offer was $150 flat fee. And so you can imagine what that would do to some of the, you know, lower middle and middle class users. But we will get you that information.
Great. Thank you so much. And thanks for everything your office is doing.
Oh, thank you, Alicia. And I don't know if somebody from the league is on. Maybe they have some. Was everybody aware of this?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So we need to make you aware, because time is of the essence.
Thanks.
And I was not aware either. So I will be taking a look at it.
Okay, that would be great. Paul, I think you are the next.
Thank you, Jackie. Is the flat fee goes directly to the utility, or is used for some other statewide purpose?
No, it goes to the utility.
Great, thank you.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, what it's really going to discourage is additional adoption of solar, and they are claiming that this is affecting low-income users. You know, that low-income users are paying the majority of the bills for these solar. They're subsidizing solar users, but the reality is the lowest income folks already have 30% of most of the utility users are under the CARE program or some other program that subsidizes their bills. So we're really talking about affecting the lower middle class and the middle class, and then high energy utilizers. I'll repeat again, with the way that the proposal is currently, are going to be paying lower bills. Ray?
Good morning, Jackie. Thank you very much for being here. I wanted you to spend a little bit more time talking about the proposition that you worked so hard to get on the ballot. I think one of the things that the COG deals with an awful lot is the homelessness issue. And I know each one of our cities feels pressure on the housing front. And a lot of that comes from the fact that there are so many people on our streets, especially in Los Angeles County. And no offense, but I think you undersold your hard work and what you were able to achieve. And I know it's with the help of your colleagues and the governor making this a priority. But for all of us, the housing and homelessness problem is one of our most challenging issues on the local level. And I think as much as we've done for housing, the missing component has been the mental health part. And along comes your bond. And I think it's just an amazing bit of work that you've done to get it this far, and certainly will be something we'll all take a look at in the March ballot. But maybe you can talk a little bit more about some of the particulars of your hard work.
Oh, Ray, you are so kind. So I have been, since I have been the chair of the Military and Veterans Committee for 8 years, each year I carry the Veteran Housing and Homeless Program bond. And that bond has been financed, I think it was 2008 and 2014. It was on the ballot, and then I got money out of the general fund last year to keep that funding up. the one group of homeless individuals that has actually decreased in percentage is homeless veterans, because the focus of California has been really right on them, and homeless veterans are a little bit easier problem to resolve because they do come with federal wraparound funding also. And so, but the part that wasn't really being addressed is the substance abuse and the mental health issues. So that bill was taken, and that's really the foundation of Proposition 1. And then in addition, I'm working with Susan Eggman, who has dealt with a lot of the mental health components. The bill that she was able to pass this year was lowering the definition of gravely disabled. So at the same time as, you know, we're emptying out our, Camarillo Mental Health Hospital, the Lanterman Act passed, and really it made it very difficult to get somebody under guardianship, because the level of what is called gravely disabled is so high. So she has been able to, and this was very hard because the ACLU and the disability rights folks just didn't want that definition changed at all. But we have seen ourselves that there are people on the street that just cannot take care of themselves. So she has that portion. And then we were looking with Daryl Steinberg at the mental health MHSA funding, which the counties get. And we haven't, for 20 years, they've been getting a big pot of money. And some counties have done a very good job with mental health programs. And some of them have just continued with the programs that they had, or they've kept money in reserves. So this is really looking at, with the help of the previous author, revamping how that MHSA funding is going, and basically telling them that 30% of the money has to be set aside for housing for these units that are going to be built. And then I think for me, the biggest thing, and it's not nearly the right amount, is to reestablish these beds, and the 11,000 beds are going to be both unlocked, and there is the ability to use the money for locked beds. Once that was put in, and the governor told us to put it in. I'm complaining about people sneaking things in bills, but we had hearings about it. That's the difference with solar tax. But once we put that in, then the disability rights people were opposed the bill, because they don't think anybody should be in a locked facility. But we have certainly seen, if you have been in hospitals, you know what happens in the ERs. There are people with substance abuse problems and people with mental health breakdowns, and there's no beds for them. And so they're just put in the hallway because there's no place to send them. So we're really hoping to address that issue with the money for the 11,000 beds. And I would just encourage everybody to look at, is there, what will your community want out of that money? Because I will tell you, LA would like to take all the money and put it in a general hospital. They would like to put all the beds there, but it really should be, small amounts of beds in our communities to really start to deal with this issue. So there's all sorts of accountability measures. We hope enough, because we've certainly seen that when you're looking at some of the way LA County and LA City have been spending their money, it's has not resulted in the number of beds being built or the number of units being built that we would have liked to have seen. But I think this is potentially finally movement in the right direction. Thank you, Ray, by the way. Anybody else?
Jeremy?
Question. Hello, Assembly Member. I know you don't have a crystal ball, but I was just wondering, what your thought is about what the state budget's going to look like this year, and if you have any insider information. I know with the extended tax return, we still don't know what it's going to look like, but I was just wondering if there was any chatter you've been hearing, because we're all following that pretty closely.
Yes, and council member Wolf, I appreciate all your help this weekend. You know, all of you in your communities have been dealing with the tragedy that happened in Israel and the aftermath, and you know, all our communities are really on edge. So I just appreciated you connecting me with the right folks. We had a vigil for Paul at one of our local temples, and just appreciate you. The budget I do not have a crystal ball, but I can tell you one thing, that there was this minimum wage bill for hospitals, and I was completely opposed to it. But in the end, the hospitals and SEIU made a deal, and part of it is because the hospitals in the LA County area and the San Francisco area kept having SEIU or the local unions do initiatives to increase the minimum wage. And so they all came together with a deal to have $25 minimum wage for anybody that works at a hospital, with the agreement that there wouldn't be any initiatives for the next, I think, 6, 7, 8 years. And for hospitals, that was enough to ask us to support this measure. And I have, you know, deep concerns about that, because the expense of that bill to the state, because we also, you know, we do the Medi-Cal, it's the reimbursement rates, and it's the UC hospitals, and this potentially could cost the state between $2 and $8 billion. And so when you ask, what does the budget look like? This is what we just committed to. And I think it's really going to crowd out a lot of other areas that we are interested in. And so we had this obviously big surplus during the COVID years. And then we thought we were going to be, that we were going to have problems last year. It turned out okay. That's why there was that, you know, some additional money for cities and open space and bike paths. But I don't see that kind of money coming in. Now, the hope is, of course, with this minimum wage, that more people are paying taxes, and that will help the budget. But it's difficult to see how you absorb in the next few years that huge expense. And again, I will say, this is not nurses, because they're paying way more. It's anybody that works in a hospital, the cafeteria worker or the person in the flower shop, if they're hospital employees. And so it's going to put a lot of pressure on other facilities to increase their minimum wage. And you know, there's a lot of good with that, because it's very expensive to live here, but we also have to understand the repercussions. It potentially will keep inflation at a somewhat higher level, and so it's a trade-off. So sorry, I have no more answers than that. I don't think the cities can count on much funding from the state, but yeah, that's the way it goes. Kelly.
Hi, Jackie.
Hello.
Jeff, did you want to go first? Jeff, did you? Okay, sorry. I thought Jeff had his hand raised. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Nancy. We coincidentally, we have an item on our agenda today we're hearing from from Julia Juarez, from the Department of Insurance. But before you go, I wanted to ask you, what is the talk, or has there been any movement or discussion or updates on this very serious situation we have here in Southern California of not being able to get homeowners insurance at all, or for less than exorbitant amounts of money? It's definitely an issue in our city. I know in Thousand Oaks, all of our neighboring cities are going through this. We get a lot of contact from our residents about this issue. I'm wondering, just looking for an update from you on what.
Yeah. So there has to be, you know, Prop 103 has made it a very cumbersome, a cumbersome process to actually get insurance rate increases. And so we had in the assembly, we had come up with a comprehensive package, which would raise rates, but it would hopefully keep the insurance companies here. And the governor had agreed to something very similar. So a lot of your constituents are going to the FAIR plan, but the FAIR plan is not really stable. It is underfunded. And in addition, we asked the FAIR plan to also take on homeowners associations weren't able to get insurance at all. So we wrote a letter to the insurance commissioner and asked that basically that to up the limit to $20 million for the FAIR plan and to do it 20 million per building, because that's been the issue with a lot of your homeowners associations. Also, because of the risk, they a lot of times purchase this secondary insurance, like you'll have farmers purchase secondary insurance, but they're not allowed to pass that on to the ratepayers. And so that's a problem. And then there's this issue of catastrophic modeling. They're only allowed to look backwards at where fires have been, as opposed to looking forwards at, oh, there's community hardening, and now because there's been a fire, there's going to be less risk there. So there was a whole package of reforms. In the assembly, we said, we're happy with the reforms, except we want to make sure that for the next year or two, you don't drop any more consumers, because what good is it to give you all these reforms that you're asking, and also to have rate increases move through more quickly? So what good is it to give you all these reforms if you're going to still be dropping clients? So they balked at that, the governor balked at that, and so we left it at that, and then the insurance commissioner moved himself to start putting in some of these reforms. But he really, I mean, it's very difficult. The insurance commissioner is an elected office, and it's completely his responsibility to raise rates. And if he has ideas about running for the next office, he's going to slow walk everything till he's out of election. But basically, we need everybody to tell the insurance commissioner to do his job, put the right reforms in place, and we'll see where we are in January if we take this on. But we really had wanted him to push through everything more quickly, and that didn't happen. So are we someplace? Well, where we are is that the FAIR plan will cover the homeowners associations. In the long run, it helps to encourage home hardening, and hopefully eventually the insurance companies will take not leave you when you've home hardened, but that they will lower your rates. So it's a work in progress. Ricardo, do your job.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you. Kelly, do we have any more questions? If not, I'll have a couple of questions. Jeff, do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. I just wanted to mention that, going back to the March ballot, my hand was up from then, but I just wanted to say Cal City supported both of the components of what will be the Prop 1. Our board is going to be taking a position on the full ballot measure the week after Thanksgiving. So we'll have a position on that by the end of the year.
Okay, that'll be great. And it is, I know for counties and cities, it is a stretch because, they weren't exactly happy with some of the reforms to the MHSA funding, but hopefully that 1.5 billion will sweeten the pot a little bit. I got to get on the road. I need to visit my friends in Malibu. So it's always good to see all of you. If there's anything else, please pass it on to Nancy, and we will get back to you.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Irwin. I'm going to send my questions to Nancy.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is presentation by Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority. I'd like to welcome, who is our representative? Oh,
hi, I'm Sally Malone. Hi.
Welcome, Sally. I didn't see you first, sorry.
No worries. Hello. So I'm seeing you have a very full agenda with only an hour. So I do have a presentation, but I'm going to move pretty quickly through it. Can I share my screen?
Yes. Carrie, will you help Sally?
See, I don't know if I'm able to. I might just be a participant versus. Yeah.
All participants, you can share.
Oh, here we go. Thank you. Okay. Let me, here we go. All right. So I'm going to move, there are a lot of slides here that I don't have time to go through. So I want to highlight some just high level stuff for y'all and then get into what we have for SPA 5 specifically. This isn't just what's the cities that are encompassed in this COG, but it narrows more down your area of the county. I don't know how familiar y'all are with LAHSA, but I'd say we're the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority. So we are the system administrator, the COG, or I'm sorry, not the COG, the council, the COC, excuse me, which means that we apply to the federal government, to HUD, to receive grant funding that then goes out to service providers. And we administer large aspects of the system. So we do the point in time count. That's a huge part of our responsibility. We, all aspects of it, from assembling the deployment sites to working with the USC on the data side, but they are the data scientists who do that aspect of it. This is from our most recent homeless count last year. We're gearing up to do a homeless count again this year, 2024. And thank you all for your support, being deployment sites and helping us. So showing the totals that increased last year. This is City of LA, so it's less useful for all of you, but this is, there we go, SPA 5, which saw an increase that was a statistically significant change. Not all, so these are ranges. The numbers are estimates. The way those estimates are achieved is the individuals are counted, and then makeshift dwellings, cars, tents, anything that people are living in, and then USC comes up with a multiplier for each SPA based on how many people they believe on average are in makeshift dwellings, and that multiplier is then applied based on the SPA. So that's how we get these estimates. They are ranges though. But as you can see, it has increased in SPA 5. The real notable decrease was in SPA 6 this past year, but overall, obviously numbers went up. Just to get into just some of the core work that LAHSA does. So as the COC's continuum of care lead, so HUD mandates that any jurisdiction that's receiving funding has a COC lead. In some areas, it's the Public Housing Authority. It can be a nonprofit. Los Angeles has chosen to make it LAHSA as a joint powers authority. We are the system administrator. We manage the coordinated entry system, help disperse resources. We work really closely with DHS, DMH, our county partners, because we share a system in order to allocate resources with them. So DMH, DHS, those are high acuity end of the spectrum. In terms of services, as direct outreach providers or any direct provider, the population we work with is not the high acuity end. That's where DMH and DHS sit, and the folks they care for. We're everyone else. We have prevention dollars for folks who are still housed. We have transition dollars for folks who are maybe like working but are living out of their cars, and then all the way up to folks who are nearly high acuity. That's our range. So this is the process flow. So in terms of how we give out our funding, and let me show you this slide because this is what it's detailing to you. This is our funding in, and then where it goes, how it goes out. So about 10% goes to our own programming. That tends to be outreach largely, but also interim housing. But by and large, 5%, we can say almost 6% to administrative, but by and large, it's all going out to our service providers, who then are contracted service providers for a wide variety of services, almost everything you're seeing in the system except for those high acuity. And this is the process by which that happens. And it goes every year, and we're advocating for it to be a longer process, as in multi-year. But I wanted to highlight this too. This is your Measure H funding that came specifically to SPA 5. So as you can see, it's like 28% of the total funding that came in, that's coming in for fiscal year 23-24. And in each category. So you've got a lot of time limited subsidies and interim housing. Those are your two largest categories. And you can see the share of Measure H dollars that are in these. So I'm going to scroll. I'm sorry to go quickly, but I know you have this packed schedule and I want to make sure we have time for questions. I do quickly want to go over our leadership structure because we've had some really big changes here lately that are exciting. So we are a joint powers authority, meaning the city and the county have come together to form us as we are a government entity. The city and the county appoint our commission, the commissioners on our commission, and they oversee LASA. They are our governing board. Right now, our commission, our chair is your supervisor, Lindsay Horvath. This is the first time, and we're really excited to have an elected who is currently in their elected position. As you know, Wendy Gruhl, a former elected, she's wonderful, and a prior chair is staying on with us. Then recently, Mayor Karen Bass appointed herself, and then even more recently, Supervisor Catherine Varga appointed herself. So this has really raised the profile, obviously, of our commission. These used to be somewhat sleepy meetings that people didn't pay much attention to, and they have really ramped up. We've had 2 meetings so far with this whole cast. They're moving more quickly. Supervisor Horvath is really shaping these meetings and having them be more dynamic and quick moving. She's condensed some of our committees so that we can move more quickly, and is really committed to investing in LASA and investing in getting to the outcomes that she knows we all need to see. So this is position description for our commissioners. These are the boards we have: our COC board, we have a lived experience board, homeless youth forum with lived experience folks, and then the CES Policy Council. We work on the CES Policy Council with the other COCs that are in LA County. That's Long Beach, Pasadena, and Glendale. So we can, and Long Beach is somewhat less involved, but we try as much as possible to have policies that are either the same or similar across the COCs so that there's more unity throughout the county. And then quickly, I just want to walk through, LASA's had some really big changes recently. I started May 1, so I just hit 6 months. Dr. Adams-Callum, our new CEO, started about a month before me. She started in about late March, April, and brought her whole leadership team with her. She came from St. Joseph's before, was brought in by the mayor, and she pioneered and developed the Inside Safe model, starting with Venice Beach. So she's come to LASA and has really narrowed down our focus, which is incredibly helpful. She knows that we need to move the needle. Folks need to see change. They need to see change on the street, and we need to see our PIT numbers move, and we need to be more, as you can see, really it's accountable, transparent, and have better relationships in our communities. That's a huge piece of it as well. So focusing on addressing the emergency, that's working really closely with the county and the city, and making a real difference in what people are seeing on the street in real time. Improving the rehousing system efficiency. We know the solution to homelessness is housing. It takes years to develop housing. Permanent housing is hard to come by. In the meantime, while we're advocating for that and trying to build housing, she's working as much as we can and leading us into cutting out the slack anywhere in our existing system we can. How can we move folks from outreach to interim more quickly? How can we move folks from interim housing shelter beds into permanent housing, or move them to family reunification, whatever their next step is? How can we do that more efficiently, more quickly, so that we're able to use, spend less time with folks, therefore work with more people, move them through the system more quickly? It's a lot of effort going into that, and it's really exciting to see these efficiencies come about. Then this huge piece, the purpose, accountability, and transparency. I think LASA, so I came from the county, from Housing for Health. I was there for 4.5 years, had a brief stint in Supervisor Mitchell's office. I'll say I was massively frustrated with LASA all the time. I felt like I could not get a straight answer from them. I never knew who I was asking. Answers would change. It just drove, and I think that was a fairly universal experience with LASA for a lot of people. So I was really excited to come in. And, I thought very hard about whether or not I wanted to come here. But with this new leadership, there's a real emphasis on changing that, on making this a service-oriented organization. That is the purpose of LASA. We work for the county. We're a public organization. And to build our reputation back up, to make sure that we're building good relationships, that people understand LASA well enough, and that we can work with folks. And this is a huge piece for government affairs, obviously. I'm the Director of Government Affairs. I apologize, I didn't really introduce myself. I'm Sally Malone, the Director of Government Affairs. But we've spent a lot of time talking about how we're going to be more accountable and more transparent with our key stakeholders. With contracting, grants, and management, if you have ever as a nonprofit tried to contract with LASA, you can understand that can be a long, arduous process. We're streamlining that as well, so it's easier to contract with LASA and more straightforward. And then, of course, putting equity in the middle of everything we're doing, as that's such a huge and important issue when it comes to homelessness. If you don't start with equity and then move about whatever goal you're trying to get to, you won't be fully addressing the issue of homelessness. So I too can briefly go over this overview of 23-24 funding. We have our federal funding coming in, the state, some of this you saw earlier too, and then showing what we're funding. So I think this is helpful. This wasn't in the previous slide. So it's prevention, problem solving, encampment resolution, permanent housing, unsheltered services, system coordination, unit acquisition. We're doing a lot of master leasing in order to have a storehouse of units that we can move people into very quickly. That has been incredibly helpful. I think if you're familiar with homeless services, you know folks tend to wait a long time to get into permanent housing. So that's been very helpful. And then our emergency response and the inclement weather efforts. I think many of you are probably familiar. These are major sources of funding. It's LA County is the largest, then LA City, a decent chunk from the state. Then we get about 11% from the federal government with HUD, and then 1% private donors. That's like Hilton funding for certain grant programs. Tends to be, you know, little bespoke things like that. And about every year, this is the similar kind of breakdown. And then, yeah, this is, and you've seen these proportions as well. So just moving quickly, we are reducing unsheltered homelessness by moving folks as quickly as we can into interim housing. So we're really focusing on addressing the emergency of street homelessness. It is incredibly dangerous to be unhoused and on the street. Trying to ensure that interim housing stays are brief and as quickly as possible, move people into their permanent housing situation, whatever that may be. And then we're developing really robust KPIs, key performance indicators outside of the homeless count. We cannot use that as our sole source to judge how well we're doing or not. And those are still being developed, but it's going to be measures that we can take quarterly versus once a year and over a variety of program areas. So really we're looking at outreach, interim and permanent housing, how long folks are staying, how long it takes them to get there. And setting goals and benchmarks that we can move towards and track ourselves. So that's our goal that we're moving towards. So I will stop sharing now and hopefully left some time for questions. I don't want to take up your whole meeting. I feel like I could with a loss of presentation. So I will, let's see, here we go.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sally. Yeah, we're so happy to have you. And I think we probably have some questions. Kelly?
Hi, thank you, Sally. Would you please send that slide deck to Terry so he can distribute to the COG? Because it was kind of fast and I'd really love to look at it slowly. I understand.
Absolutely. I know. No. I'm sorry to go so fast.
No, I understand. No, and I just want to also to comment that this is the first time that I've been on my council for 8 years, and this is the first time I've ever seen a comprehensive explanation of LASA and how it actually works and who's in charge. So I mean, I want to look at it even more closely because I couldn't pick it all up in your presentation, but thank you very much for coming today and giving us that, because as you said, it has been well needed.
Well, and I'm sorry that this is the first time, but it will not be the last time, and I'm happy to come again and make sure that you have good LASA representation and good relationships with LASA. So I'm sorry that hasn't been your experience so far.
It's not that it hasn't been our experience. I just didn't, that's not what I meant. I meant like a comprehensive understanding. I, as a council member, did not completely understand. Really, I didn't even know who was the boss.
No.
So well, now I do, now I do. So, I mean, because that information was never available to us, and perhaps we didn't seek it out that aggressively, but it's really important to understand the structure. So you've done that. Thank you.
Absolutely, of course.
Do you have any questions? I have a question, Sally. Again, thank you so much for being here today with us. And can you please tell us a little bit more about how do you track the efficacy of your programs and placements?
Sure. So that's truly something we're moving towards doing more of. Coming from, I can compare it to the county, to Housing for Health, though that's an outcome-based program. It was built entirely around the premise of reducing hospital and inpatient stays, and then paying rent and providing case management instead of that in order to get better outcomes. So it was designed to be an outcome-based program. LAHSA was not designed that way. It was designed to administer grant funding. And it's moving from that to a system administrator role. And while doing that, Dr. McCallum has come in and said, and we have to track ourselves and we have to know what our outcomes are. But that is not how LAHSA was initially formed. So this is a big shift to talk about our tracking ourselves that way. And working with a huge part of that is working with our contracted providers. Because the way we have monitored our contracts before was to say, are you spending these dollars in the way you said you would? But not, are you getting the outcomes we want to see? And that's what we're moving towards. We call that active contract management. That's what DHS does. That's what Housing for Health does. That's what I did when I worked there. I worked with Brilliant Corners. And coming over to LAHSA, I was surprised to see that they don't do that. But that's, now that I've been here a while, I understand that's not the history of this particular organization. But knowing that those are best practices, that's what we're all moving towards. And when I say all, I mean the staff who's come in. It's well understood that we have to track our outcomes. But first we have to get our outcome goals. We have to get our KPIs. We have to get our outcome goals. Then we have to get our system to move towards them. So right now we're working on that first step, getting the KPIs and then setting goals within them. So I'm sorry, a bureaucracy as large as LAHSA spending this much money should absolutely have outcome goals and be able to say, this is what we are working towards in term when we spend this money. Up until now, though, it has just been checking off that we're spending the money on what we said we were, not that we are getting the outcome from spending that money, but that's where we're headed. But right now we don't have those kinds of program outcome goals that we can share. But I will, as I've said, we will continue to come back. I will continue to come back and update you because that's what we're moving towards. And let me tell you, Supervisor Horvath, Supervisor Barger, Mayor Bass, they ask these same questions. We are being held accountable every single month on where are you on making progress on this. So it's not something we can just say blithely and then not do. This is actually, we're absolutely seeing movement on this all the time. We have a new chief program officer we're really excited about, Abby Miller. And she has a PhD, she worked at HUD, and she's helping us with this, but she did start, she's not quite here a month. So we're still working on it. It's a long answer to say we don't have an answer.
Thank you so much. If we don't have any more questions, we look forward to working.
Nico?
Terry, you have a question?
Sally, our board created a list of questions and points to that we wanted LAHSA to address, and we submitted that through Sophia back in September. And I understand that you're not prepared or to address those questions. Is that, I just wonder, when we gave LAHSA something 2 months ago, that we wanted certain points covered about the sheltering and the numbers and overcounting and counting people twice, things like that, that were also important besides the slides that you presented. But yet it doesn't seem, it's disappointing that it doesn't seem that it's important enough, or ARCOG isn't important enough, that you have something for 2 months and then we find out yesterday that you're not prepared to address those questions.
I'm sorry you're disappointed. I think I addressed many of your points in this presentation.
And hi, Terry, this is Jonah with Supervisor Horvath's office. I just want to stress that we're not looking to avoid answering your questions. I think many of your questions were around the organizational structure of LAHSA, the total number of funding, how LAHSA is funded, providing overviews on LAHSA's leadership and coordinating role. There's a lot of questions in here that I think, we need to have a deeper dive on, like talking about the changes that have been made to the system since 2018, which as we all know, a lot of things have changed in Los Angeles since 2018. So that is a very substantial question. I think that Sally also has some links so members of the public can find detailed budget information regarding LASA, and she can share the slides that were just presented to the group. As Sally mentioned, that she is going to be at these meetings moving forward, which historically LASA has not been at these COG meetings, which the supervisor's office also acknowledges and is not satisfied with, and is going to make sure that LASA is here moving forward. And we can have a separate conversation regarding some of your questions and do a little bit of a deeper dive. I just want to say that I wouldn't say that they were unprepared to answer all of your questions. I think that there are just some of these questions that, require a little bit deeper dive. And again, we're happy to facilitate those conversations, Terry, so that we can continue to get those answers. And also just want to say, if there are questions regarding specific LASA contracts that are implemented within the Las Virgenes-Malibu COG, or issues with the homeless count, which is also coming up in a couple of months. And I do get a lot of questions from communities about the homeless count. Again, I think that those are ones that we want to explore with you all. And again, thank you, Terry, for sending those questions over. And we want to make sure that we get all of those answered. And again, I'm sorry that we're not able to get them all answered this morning.
And I just put links in the chat, and yes, I'll send those to Terry as well, so you have them. But yes, I'm happy to come and talk to you about any of these topics. But again, this is not trying to take all your time here.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions? Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Jonah. We look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you. Okay, we're on to our next agenda item. Item number C, California Sustainable Energy Insurance Strategy. I'd like to welcome Julia Svetlana Juarez, Deputy Commissioner, Community Relations and Outreach for Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara, California Department of Insurance. Welcome.
Thank you very much, President Gold. It is a pleasure to be here with you this morning. I am delighted to address some of the questions that you have. So I will jump right into our presentation. I will be sharing my screen. I want to just give you an overall look at what is happening with the insurance market. The Department of Insurance and Commissioner Lara are basically tasked with ensuring that the insurance market is thriving in the state. And of course, we know that right now there are major issues that are happening with insurance companies, and like to go over what it is that we are seeing throughout the state and basically throughout the entire market of insurance. So we have seen that natural disasters and global inflation throughout everywhere have really affected the insurance market. We know that insurance companies are global corporations, that they do business everywhere, and so all of the different things that have been happening throughout the world, have had some type of impact, to the insurance markets everywhere. And so that, of course, comes with, just increases in rebuilding supplies and just overall stress in the market. What is happening in California around that, just so that you understand exactly, how it works. We have about 115 companies that sell homeowners insurance in the state. However, our consumers will normally go to the top 12 companies, which I am sure you have all heard of, because they have the large budgets. But of that, we have 85% of the entire homeowners market is basically with those 12 insurance companies. And so within those insurance companies, 7 of them alone within this last year have either stopped or paused or restricted their new business. They continue to work with the homeowners that they have, but they have just restricted doing new business. What does that mean for us? That means that if you see here, there's all 12 of them, that they all have, there is an issue with, with getting a lot more insurance in the market, just because of the risks that they have incurred. We have seen that even though they are, they have large percentages of the market, they are also, asking for these increases in rates. And although in the past, what we have seen is that insurance companies, in order to avoid long and detailed insurance increases, they would just do the bare minimum, which was about 6.9%, in order to avoid hearings and all of that. However, what would happen is the very next day, once they have their rate approved, they would again, request another rate increase for 6.9%. So it just was a constant roll that they would do, and it just wasn't getting anywhere. So when Commissioner Lara came to office in 2019, he asked the insurance companies to ask exactly what it is that they need, so that we know what is it that needs to be done, and how, and then we can just stop playing this, catch-up game, and actually make sure that the, if the numbers are correct, that the actuaries review and everything is right, there is no reason why they shouldn't be getting the rate increases that they needed. But it took that long. It has taken this long for them to actually then request for the increases that they actually need. So if you look at this list, basically most of these have, do have the increases that are pending right now, or that have been approved. However, even with those increases, when we are meeting with the insurance companies and we're asking, for them to sell more, their concerns for the market are much deeper than just increasing rates. And so that is why there's much more, it's a lot more complicated than that. What does that mean for California? California has the largest market share in insurance than anywhere else in the country. So we sell more insurance here than anywhere else in the country. We are only second to China in the amount of insurance that we sell. However, what we have seen is that within the last 10 years, because of all the catastrophic fires that we've had, because of the pandemic, because of all these different things that have happened, we have seen that California, the share of California profit for insurance companies, for them to be able to do their business, has actually come down. And they have, if you look at all of the different things that we have here, the insurance companies are actually losing money in California, and have been doing so for the last 10 years. So that has been one of their biggest issues. What we have seen is, what is it that we can do, or what has been done. The FAIR Plan is the insurance of last resort, and I know that many of your cities have been affected by that. And many of your cities, rather than having the FAIR Plan be the insurance of last resort, is now the only insurance that is available for them. The FAIR Plan was created by the legislature, but it is not a state government-run organization. It is actually it is run by the insurance companies. All the insurance companies that do business in the state have to put money into the FAIR Plan in order for that money to be used to pay claims, according to their market share. Now, the problem that we see is that if the FAIR Plan right now, because it is now increasing tremendously, its market share, and it's increasing in areas where there is a lot more risk, if a major catastrophe happens, the FAIR Plan is not going to be able to cover that. And then the entire insurance market is going to take a huge hit and not be able to be sustainable. So that is why we need to do something in order to improve the insurance market as a whole. So because of that, insurance companies are being very careful to not write in high risk areas. You have seen a lot, I'm sure you're hearing from a lot of your constituents that they have been, they maybe have never made a claim, but because their home is a higher end home closer to the WUI, which is, closer to areas where, they're fire prone, many of the insurance companies are just reducing their risk in that sense. The other part of this is that because of Prop 103, we do have a system that an organization can come in and just put a halt to rate filings as well. So when insurance companies are asking for these rate increases, that that organization can come in, request for reviews, and even though the same questions that the Department of Insurance has been asking are the same questions that they're asking, and there really isn't anything new. That has actually increased the amount of time that insurance companies then have to get a rate increase, up to 2 years at times. So those are the major issues that we have seen. So in order to tackle the issue of risk, which was what the insurance company said that they have an issue with, the Department of Insurance got together with all of the different organizations that deal with wildfires to come up with a Safer from Wildfires framework, which is basically very specific things that homeowners can do to mitigate their home, and then also their immediate surroundings, and then also their entire communities, so that we can then help decrease all of that risk. These are very specific things. The commissioner brought all of the different agencies together with the governor's office of emergency services, CAL FIRE, all of the different agencies that deal with wildfires, so that it is so that people can go and look at very specific things that they can do, and those things are then used to make sure that you are able to get then either a decrease in your premium, or some type of assistance, so that you are able to make your home and your communities a lot safer. So what that included was an actual. So that these are the major things that you could do. So what that did is it provided very specific things that communities can do, and then all of it became law that all of the insurance companies will then have to take all of those things into account when they look at your insurance rates, and then give you something properly according to what you have done. Then also Commissioner Lara increased the FAIR Plan availability to cover $20 million for areas that, we have a lot of HOAs that need a lot more insurance than your normal, homeowner. So that has, the commissioner has increased. When Commissioner Lara came on board in 2019, the FAIR Plan was only offering $1.5 million coverage for homes, $3 million for businesses. So he was able to double that to $3 million per home, and then also $7 million for businesses. But we have found that, of course, commercial properties like the HOAs, excuse me, needed a lot more. So that's why we increased that to 20 million. And that has started in November 1st. So the FAIR Plan is providing that. The other part of this is that before, insurance companies were telling consumers, because of your wildfire risk score, we are not going to, going to renew your policy. Well, when consumers would ask, well, what is my risk score, and how did you guys come to that number? The insurance companies would say that is proprietary information, and we cannot share any of that with you, which is insane, because then there's nothing you could do about that. So what the regulations that Commissioner Lara did made it so that wildfire risk scores are available to consumers, and you are able to ask for those and ask exactly what it is that they say that, that why you have that score. And you are able to now or appeal that score and say, I am, I don't agree with it because of all the different things that I have done to mitigate my home. So, and if the insurance company then does not approve that, or still, goes back and forth with you, the department, you can call the department and we will work with you and the insurance company to come to an agreement on what you can, what that should be. So all of those things are new things that we have been able to do to improve the market in some ways. However, we know that that is not enough. So the commissioner created the first climate and sustainability branch in the country for the department as soon as he came on board in 2019, to make sure that we are able to look at what are the major issues that we have and how can we actually tackle all of this. So out of that came the Climate Insurance Working Group that put together this report that basically looks at insurance companies' assets as well and investments, and where, what is their part within climate change. They are, they of course use their money to make major investments everywhere, and so we need to make sure that they are also investing in clean energy and things that will actually make a difference for mitigating homes and communities as well. And then we also partner with the United Nations to launch the Sustainable Insurance Roadmap, which basically gives information as to what it is that we should be and can be doing in order to improve all of our outlook as a whole. So along with that, then of course we have been working on the making insurance accessible for all Californians, and making sure that the market is stable, and that we are working together to improve our protect our communities from climate change. So that is where the sustainable insurance strategy came from. This is something that the commissioner worked with the governor and all of the leadership with the Assembly and the Senate insurance committees to come together for, and put together very specific things that can be done. The Assembly and the Senate did not pass these things within their, to make it law. So the commissioner worked with the governor to actually make these things happen through his authority. The problem with that is that if a new insurance commissioner comes on board next time, at the next election, they can make changes to this and then throw it all away. So it is not necessarily, law in that sense. So that was the reason that the commissioner had gone to the legislature and asked for assistance to make these things happen. But what we are looking at, ultimately, these are the major things that were agreed upon by the insurance industry with the commissioner, the governor, and the leadership. And it is requiring insurance companies to write 85% of the homes that are in those areas where we have the most amount of people on the FAIR plan, or that don't have insurance or cannot access insurance at all. And then it is also making sure that those, when the insurance companies are writing those, that they give priority to those homes and those homeowners that have been doing the work to make sure that their homes are mitigated, so that they are doing the Safer from Wildfires regulations within their homes and their communities, so that we can increase the amount of homes that are safer from wildfires. Then the other part of that is looking at the catastrophe models. So as Assemblymember Irwin did mention, the department always looked at what historically were the losses in different areas of the state to look at premiums. However, with climate change and with all of the different things that have been happening, all the different catastrophes, floods, wildfires, that is no longer a sustainable way to look at premiums. And so what we are looking at right now is we are reviewing the models that recognize the work that consumers are doing individually in their home to make sure that their homes are safer, so that then we can use those models to see and make sure that consumers are getting the premiums that they need to be paying rather than a swath, on this entire zip code is going to be paying this much or be taken out of the market altogether because of the risk. Rather, with these models, we will be able to look at exactly what it is that they need to, that people have done so that they can be paying appropriately. Then the other part of that is we are looking at, Assemblymember Irwin did mention reinsurance, which is basically insurance for the insurance companies. What they are saying is that because of all of the different things that have been happening globally, they can no longer get reinsurance at a reasonable rate. And California is one of the only states in the country, because of Prop 103, that did not allow insurance companies to purchase reinsurance and pass that on to consumers in any way. So didn't allow insurance companies to do that at all. So now what we are doing is trying to figure out how is it that we can make sure that if we allow insurance companies to buy insurance for themselves, that we make sure that the only insurance costs that we are looking at are going to be for risks that is happening in California only, not the risk, not that we're not paying for risk that is happening throughout any of the other states or India or anywhere else, but rather if we are going to allow this, that this happens only for California. So the issue with reinsurance is that all the companies that sell reinsurance are based out of the Cayman Islands and Bermuda, places that they do not have any type of regulations. And so what the commissioner has done is he has gone over there and spoken to these companies and try to understand how is it that they do their whole process to make sure that if there is an opportunity for us to work with the insurance industry to get them to get reinsurance, that we are able to make sure that it is only California risk that we are going to be covering. So those are things that we are continuing to work on. And then finally, modernizing the FAIR Plan also underscores the need that $20 million for an entire facility is not enough. For some areas, that homeowners associations need $20 million for every structure that they have. And so that is the other part of that we are working with the FAIR Plan to do. So those are the major issues that we are addressing with the sustainable insurance strategy. And this has been done because the commissioner has been going to hundreds and hundreds of meetings throughout the state. We have held over 2,000 meetings now, town halls, events, conversations like these that we're having with you, to make sure that we understand exactly what the issues are that are happening individually in very specific communities, and be able to try to come up with a plan that will work for everyone, in a sense. So that is the whole issue. Now, Assemblymember Irwin did say, well, commissioner is an elected office, and we want him to do his job. I do want to let you all know that the commissioner has made it a very specific point that all of these things need to be done by the end of 2024. Normally, the Department of Insurance takes a very long, as you well know, government takes a very long time. But what we have done because of the governor's executive order that Commissioner Lara worked with him on, we are making sure that the staff is being hired to improve the way that we do our work here, so that we're able to work with a lot more insurance companies and get the rate filings done in an appropriate time. We are also so that is one part, but then also making sure that all of these reforms to regulations are also being sent to the appropriate offices, and that they are being seen quickly and will be in place within within that timeframe between now and December 2024. So that is the expectation from the department, and that is what we are working on. And these are the things that insurance company, industries have actually all of the industry representatives have come to an agreement with the commissioner and governor to make sure that these things are the things that are going to be in place. And their part as well as we are moving that forward. But I also want to make sure that I share with you this information. And this is, here's our 800 number. We have over 1,400 employees in the state that work for the Department of Insurance. And we have people that are on the phone 8 a.m. to 5 every day, who are able to talk to your constituents about their specific insurance issues. Any type of question that they have, we have experts that are able to help with that. If they are having any type of issue with their insurance company, we are able to work with them and then talk to the insurance company directly and be able to get responses from them so that we are able to serve you and make sure that they know that everything that they're doing is according to the law, that is right. And then we also have availability of people there who can help you figure out what is the best options for you. So those are all of the things that are available there. Our website also has information on all of the different things that I just went over. I know that it was very quickly, but there's a lot more detailed information on all of these things that can be seen. And you can get involved. We are doing a lot of the hearings right now for catastrophe modeling and for the reinsurance issues. We are opening those up to the public, and we want to make absolutely sure that you are involved in those hearings and understand if you are interested in being a part of all of that. But and ultimately, I want to close also by letting you know that my team and I have been making ourselves available for local communities to go out and explain what is happening, and then also letting people know how they can access the department for assistance. So, after this, you are welcome to reach out, and we will be able to work with you to put together town halls in your areas. We do the town halls physically and virtually as well. We are able to, to put together materials for you that you can email on newsletters to inform people about all of this. And we are also available for any other type of idea of how you want to inform your constituents or make our office available for services directly to your community. That has been very much so at the forefront of everything that we do. The commissioner wants to make absolutely sure that we are making ourselves available to you as elected officials, but also to our local communities in every area of the state. So that is why we have been to every county and continue to try to open these forms of communication so that you're able to ask ask your questions. We're able to help answer those. If I don't have the answer for you today, I will make sure to get those answers to you and we'll be able to follow up. But that is, in a nutshell, what we are doing, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Jeremy?
Yeah, I think it's such an important issue for the state and our region. I have two quick questions. Is how long will it take for those modelings, the CAT modelings you're talking about, to be provided back to us? That's one question. And the other one, is do we have any idea like what the California insurance rates are going to look like in the next 6 months? Is there any indication? So those are my two questions.
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. Very good questions. Right now, we have held 2 hearings for the catastrophic modeling, and we continue to work on those. The expectation is that within the next 6 months, we will be able to have a little bit more of a set system that we can review. We are working not only with all of the different constituencies, but also making sure that we are talking to the experts who have been studying catastrophe modeling throughout the country, but then also with our universities. So there is a lot of work that is being done right now. So we don't have a set date just yet, but we are right now we have done 2 hearings, and we expect to be another round of that as we are getting closer to what where we are. Do we know what the rates will be like within the next 6 months? I couldn't, no, I couldn't really tell you exactly what that would be, because every insurance company would have to, it's basically their own, as they, as we have them listed, what they have, the increases that they have received are increases that are done throughout their entire book of business. So that means that maybe in some areas where there is no risk at all, they might not see an increase at all, or might even see a decrease. Whereas some areas that are very high wildfire prone, those might see a much larger increase. So those are the bigger, those different things. So we really can't say exactly.
Julia.
Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
Julia, can you please stop your screen share so we can go
Oh,
back?
sorry about that.
No worries.
Thank you. I apologize for that.
No worries. Penny, you have a question, right?
Yes, I think it would be really helpful for the residents in all our cities if we could arrange a town hall.
Absolutely.
I mean, we could do it for all the cities combined or in groups, but I think it would really help. I know I myself am currently going through negotiations with my insurance company, and I know lots of other people are. So that would be something maybe we could set up in early next year.
Absolutely. We are happy to do that. What we have done is we brought our teams. So maybe we bring about 4 to 6 people to be available so that we can get people's information, and we can schedule very specific meetings with people that we can review their policies with them, and see what are they, what is happening and what can we do to help. And many times it helps to have the regulator on the other line when you are talking to your insurance company. So
absolutely. Terry, is that something that maybe you could coordinate for the spring?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul, did you have a question? You're muted.
Oh no, I'm done. I'm no more.
Oh, not Jeremy, Paul.
I lowered my hand because you don't need to hear me complain that I'm paying more than 400% of what I was paying in 2017. And that seems to be across the board in Malibu. And I'm afraid that we're making the insurance compliance for the companies so difficult that they're just deciding to leave the state. And,
yeah, I understand. And thank you so much for saying that, because even though, when we speak, we are speaking for the entire department, and at times you might, I'm sure that there is frustration because what you are going through is a lot more difficult. We have spoken to people who are literally, losing their homes because their insurance is now a lot more expensive than their actual home is. And so we understand that the issue is urgent, and that is why we're trying to find ways to work with the industry, because we have to walk that fine line, make sure that they are able to be solvent, that they are able to pay claims, and that they're able to pay their employees. And then also making absolutely sure that when you are, when you are needing their service, that they are there for you as well. So we want to make, we have a lot, we have to make that balance, with them. So know that we understand that the issue is dire, and that is why we're working on it to the best of our ability here. Sorry.
Yes, thank you, Julia. My comment is this. How is this going to be sustainable in the long run? In other words, California has a housing shortage of over 1.3 million, something in that neighborhood. We are mandated by the California state government to build housing in every city. Yet, those new homes that we are mandated to build, and developers must be incentivized to build, they have to make money. Insurance companies have to make money. How do these two things jive? I've never understood how the fire people are not talking to the housing people, to make it a very simplistic kindergarten level argument. It just doesn't make sense to me on a long-term sustainability basis. Obviously, the FAIR plan is not sustainable in the long run, because if we don't have any insurance in the state, we're not going to have anyone paying into the FAIR plan. So what is the commissioner doing with regard to this issue planning wise? In other words, I just don't see how this is going to work out. So I'm interested in your comments.
Thank you so much for your question. I really appreciate that. And that is absolutely one of the biggest issues, because we do have communities, even Paradise, that has that lost basically almost the entire town, are now in the rebuilding mode, and they cannot get insurance at all as well. And so those are absolutely important things that need to go hand in hand. The thing is that the commissioner does not have jurisdiction over that portion of the issue. That is something that is done by the state and other with other agencies and other and other local agencies. So that is something that we need to. He has made it a point that it is something that needs to be addressed. And it is actually something that we are looking into now, but it is not something that we have jurisdiction over. Unfortunately, we're not.
Yes, that is unfortunate. That is a big, huge problem. Thank you.
Yeah, but thank you very much.
Also, would you please send your presentation, your slide deck to Terry Dipple? Thank you.
Yes.
Julia, I have a quick question, and it's kind of a touchy subject, but has the insurance commissioner stopped taking campaign contributions from the insurance companies?
The insurance commissioner in 2019 had was his own, just so that you're aware exactly what the issue is. He was taking care of his own finances as donations were coming in. He made a mistake and received two donations from people who were married to people in the insurance industry. He was not aware of that. When it was something that was brought to his attention, he returned that money. That was in 2019, and it was those two instances. And he has returned that money, has apologized for that, and it has never happened again. And he hired someone else to actually take care of his books to make sure that is in place. That he has never again, and has never since received any type of donation from the insurance company. And he is also very much so aware that that was an issue that was brought up, and he, the minute that it was brought up as an issue, very much so apologized for his mistake and made absolutely sure that he was not a part of any type of decision making that was that had to do with those two donations. But that has not been the case since then.
But isn't he running for lieutenant governor, and aren't they making contributions to his lieutenant governor campaign?
No.
Okay.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you so much, Julia, for joining us today.
Thank you.
And we're on to our next agenda item, which is the Executive Director's Report. I'd like to ask Terry to present the report. Terry, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry, the construction's going on and it's a little distracting. I think Bob Takamura is still on the call, on the meeting, and I'd like him to take a couple of minutes to talk about the hazard mitigation plan update, which is part of my executive director's report, and I'll mute for a second.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Terry. This is Bob Takamura with MLC. We're in the last stages of doing the update on the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. This is, again, a 5-year update that's required by FEMA and Cal OES for the cities to remain eligible for grant funding for their mitigation projects. We've got input from each city representative. We have a planning group. We've had them review several of the updated sections, and we're in the process of assembling the final parts of it. We have a few follow-ups to do in terms of future mitigation projects that might be useful to include in the plan. We did do a series of public Zoom meetings that we did invite the public to attend. Unfortunately, most of them were fairly lightly attended. The last one we did a few days ago was actually Hidden Hills, which ended up being the most attended. We had 11 people from the public attend that one. So we're wrapping that up. And let's see, beyond that, once we get all the other finishing touches done and tap a few loose ends, we will then need to post it for public comment on each city's website. I plan on having that done by the end of the month, and then allow for about 2 weeks of public comment, and then we submit to Cal OES for their review. So that's kind of where we're at in the process. And if anybody has a question, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions for Bob? Okay, thanks, Bob.
Okay, thanks.
Then let's see, we held our the COGS Highway Working Group meeting with Metro last week. That went very well. We had good participation from all the cities. The Regional Smart City fiber network project that the COG is doing is underway, and we're submitting a scope of work to Metro by the end of the month in order for Metro to have that included in their board report when the action is taken to approve our Measure M funding. I would point out that Metro's doing a traffic reduction study, which basically is looking at toll roads and other things for the 405 and the 101. And so I was planning to have them make a presentation on how this would impact the region at the January COG meeting. And then, let's see, what else did I think that we had a homeless working group meeting yesterday that went very well. We had good participation. And I appreciate everybody's understanding of the background noise and the distraction at my end. So that concludes my report, but I'd happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Terry. I can't hear things, so I think we're good.
I don't hear anything either. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, exactly. Penny?
Yes, Terry, I just wanted to check, when you say the Metro's considering toll roads, does that mean they're going to create like a lane on the 101 freeway that you'd pay to ride in?
No, I think it's my understanding that they're looking at a broader effort that would affect everyone, not just people driving in an HOV lane.
So you mean you'd have to pay a toll to get on the freeway?
Yes.
Whoa. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, they're looking at it's what's frustrating for our area is, and I've addressed this with them, is that Metro is trying to raise more money. They want to raise money so they can offset transit. And you know what I've said is that there's really no transit out here. There's no other option for people that live in our area other than the freeway. And so it's it really would have a significant negative impact, not just on people that live in our area that where tends to be a higher income area, but there are a lot of people that don't have as high an income that are driving that freeway too, that would, you know, have an effect on them.
Yes, and so like if I wanted to go from Agoura to Westlake, just to get on the freeway, I'd have to pay. So that's going to put more traffic on our local roads.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
is,
More accidents.
that's crazy.
Yes. It is crazy. So I will have them all teed up to make a presentation at the January meeting to go over it from in a more detailed fashion.
Yes. I don't think we're going to be very happy with that.
Yeah,
I
Terry,
know.
I have a comment too. Seems like we will have less and less money for housing. If you have to pay more money for transportation, more money for insurance, how are we going to pay for our rent and mortgage? That's a question to consider for all of us. Any more questions for Terry? No? Does that conclude your report, Terry?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you so much. We're moving on to item number 6, public safety, legislative, and agency partner updates. Do we have anyone from the Los Angeles County? Oh yeah, it's Captain C2. Do we have her from Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department? I can't see her.
I don't see Captain C2.
Okay, maybe she'll jump on later. Let's move on to the Los Angeles County Fire Department. Chief Smith or Megan? Megan, hi.
I'm here. Chief Smith is not, but I'm here.
Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sure most of you heard about the fire that we had last week in Topanga, early Friday morning. So I just wanted to give a brief recap on that. It was about 12:20 a.m. when the call went out, and it was originally a structure fire that went into the brush. So it wasn't moving too quickly, so we were able to get a jump on it. It ended up at 3.6 acres, and like I said, 12:20, the forward progress was stopped at around 3 a.m. So it was only about 2 hours or 3 hours until they were able to stop it. And there were a lot of factors in our favor. Luckily, the wind wasn't blowing that hard when it started. By 4 a.m., the wind speed had about tripled. So if it would have been later, it would have been much worse. And it was also in kind of a bowl in the canyon, so it was wind sheltered. And then we also had every single aircraft in the county on it. So we had a lot of things in our favor for it. So it actually, we ended up handling it pretty easily, but it could have been much worse if you know, minor things had been different. But yeah, luckily we were able to get a handle on it. The cause is still under investigation, so I don't have any information on that, but if I do, I can let all of you know. And then now we have rain coming in the next few days, so we're currently preparing for that at all the stations, getting sandbags ready, getting all of our equipment ready, swift water teams and things like that. So we're transitioning from, you know, fire into rain. That's pretty much all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you so much, Megan. Do we have any questions for her? No? Okay, let's move on to League of Cities monthly update, which is included in our agenda on page 8 through 11. Jeff, would you like to highlight anything?
Yeah, I did. I did drop a link into the chat. So all of the links that were included in the report should work. Obviously, you know, we've been very active at the county level with the pre-arraignment release procedures that we sent a letter on, as well as the you know, Measure H 2.0, which our future LA did end up submitting to the registrar last week. So we're going to hold off on just seeing exactly what the final language is. And then our division board will be taking a look at that once it is made it onto the ballot. But other than that, we do have our holiday reception coming up on December the 13th. We hope to see you all there. That's down at the California Club. But happy to answer any questions on my report.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Do you have any questions for Jeff? No? Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Let's move on to our next update from our legislative staff and agency partners. Rachel Wagner's SCAG's update is on page 12 through 14 in the agenda. Are there any representatives or Rachel who would like to speak, or agency partners? I don't see anybody's hand. Okay, thank you so much. We're moving on to our next item, which is our action item, Malibu Measure M adjustment. You can find that on page 15 in our agenda. Terry, will you present this item?
Yes, I will. As you know, the COG approves the annual Measure R and Measure M project list every September, October. When it was approved this year, it did not include an item that Rob DeBoe and I had been discussing from Malibu. He didn't get me the final numbers and details in time, and it subsequently came up later. It's just, it's not a new project. It's merely moving 1.2 million from one of their projects to the other. The details are included in my report. And I've already spoken with Metro and gotten them the information, and they have it included in the board report that will go to the Metro board in January, along with our other Measure M and Measure R projects and adjustments. So all the board needs to do today is just confirm this reallocation for Malibu's project, and then I will forward that to Metro.
Thank you so much, Terry. Are there any questions for Terry? Paul?
I just want to take a second to thank Terry and the rest of the COG for moving the money for us. We have the fiber optic cables. They're all sitting there. We're ready to start installing them, and this will be very helpful. Thank you very much for your efforts.
Thank you, Paul.
Is there a motion?
May I make the motion?
Yes, you may.
I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the governing board to confirm the reallocation of the measure refunds in the amount of $1,200,000 from the PCH median project to the PCH signal synchronization project, and included as part of the COG's Measure M and Measure R project list.
Second.
Would the executive director call the roll?
Paul Grisanti?
Yes.
Kelly Honig?
Yes.
Penny Sylvester?
Yes.
Alicia Weintraub? She had to leave. President Gold?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, next item is general comments and requests for future agenda item. This is the time when I usually check in with the city managers. Who would like to start? Ramiro, maybe?
Sure. Sorry. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Nate sends his holiday wishes. He's sitting on a panel, actually, so I'm here today. So I'll keep it short just for the sake of time. This Thursday, in 2 days, we have our State of the City event, inviting all of you if you haven't already received your invitations. But we do have our annual State of the City. We are going to be combining it with our mayor's art show. It's going to be at 5 o'clock. The doors open. It's going to be at our Agoura Hills Recreation and Event Center. Doors will open at 5. The mayor's presentation is going to be a brief one. It's going to be at 6 o'clock p.m. And I promise this is going to be a different State of the City than you're used to. It's going to be pretty interactive. There's going to be exhibits that are set up. We're going to have local restaurant vendors coming in. We're going to have a little music from local musicians. And then we do have a formal, like I said, abbreviated mayor's address at 6 p.m. So Please, if you can, make time to come out. We'll see you on Thursday. And then last thing is I would like to let everybody know that our Holidays on the Hill event, it's actually a 2-day event. It'll be coming December 1st. This is really a time for our Cultural Arts Council to go ahead and promote all the local artisans and artists in our community. I believe we're going to have between 16 to 20 artisans, and then we've got about 8 artists that are going to be featured. So it promises to be a great time. Again, it's going to be at our Agoura Hills Recreation and Event Center on Friday, December 1st. It starts from 5 o'clock to 8 p.m. You can come out, have some bites, have some musical entertainment, and check out the art. And then on Saturday, December 2nd, same kinds of things. And if you didn't have enough to eat then, you can eat again on Saturday. And we do have our annual photos with Santa, and then we're going to have some crafting for families. So promises to be a great time in Agoura Hills, and I'll close it with that.
Thank you, Ramiro. Who would like to go next?
I'm happy to go next. Good morning, everyone. Good to see you all. Just a couple updates from Westlake Village, and something we're really focused on, have been for a couple of years now, and we'll continue to do this, is designing and building sidewalks throughout the city, and really interested in looking at streets and reimagining streets to be more complete streets, so there's safety for both pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists, and where possible, narrowing streets just to slow people down. So that's something that we're focused on. We're also going to be doing some renovations here at the Civic Center in our courtyard, which is exciting. We have all these fountains and water features that are not sustainable anymore, so we're going to take those out and make more practical space, and actually also install a veterans honor. We just had Veterans Day, so I thought I'd mention that. We're also building pickleball courts, hopefully next year, up at the community parks. And we acquired some new land up at that large park up there, and we're going to build 4 new pickleball courts with lights. So we invite you all to come up and play once they're built, and we'll find out who the best pickleball player is among the COG board members. Be Kelly, maybe. We also have our reorganization meeting on December 13th, and invite you all to come to that special council meeting where we thank and appreciate the leadership of Mayor Ray Pearl for this last year, and their council also selects a new mayor and mayor pro tem. So that's on December 13th. And just related to the holiday events, we also have an event on December 2nd. It's actually called the Holiday Sing-Along. There's a lot of caroling with a lot of music and arts and all that fun stuff, and that's at the shops in Westlake Village from noon to 3 on Saturday, December 2nd. So there are a few things that we're working on. And Kelly and Ray, if you have anything to add. Ray's
gone, but I put the sing-along in the chat. All our entire COG, council, and staff is invited, and Terry, to sing or observe. It's really fun. All you have to do is sign up on our website, and you can choose your song and wear festive wear. We'd really love to see you. You do not have to be, there's a backup choir and a band. So you don't actually have to be good at singing, because I'm not at all. Really good at pickleball, but not singing. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, we'd love to see some of you there. So please join us.
Thank you. Okay. I'd like to say a couple of things. Maybe just one thing actually from Hidden Hills. Our reorg meeting is on the 11th. And that's the last meeting we're going to have this year. Anything else?
Joe Tony is available from Malibu, Assistant City Manager.
Thank you, Paul. Real quick, we have plenty of things going on in Malibu, obviously, but PCH safety has quickly become our highest priority, which I think is apparent to everybody. We declared an emergency last night to try to give us some more local powers and authority, some more bandwidth to do some changes. And then also there's a PCH task force occurring as we speak with local representatives. So I will hop off this and jump onto that one, but if there's any questions, please let me know, and we're happy to be partnering with all of our fellow agencies on different things like the PCH signal synchronization. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Kindon?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and good morning to everybody. just a couple updates on things that have happened in Calabasas recently. We had our Pumpkin Festival at the end of October. Wonderful event. We thank you and those who were able to participate and join in that celebration. And then just most recently, this last week, we held a Veterans Day celebration in our Veterans Garden, and each of the council members were able to honor and recognize one of our local veterans from our community. A wonderful event, and it was good to just be together for that as well. Our reorg is happening on December 13th, as many of the other cities. And then tomorrow is our State of the City, where Mayor Shapiro will give an update on this past year. And then also just recently, last month, we held our groundbreaking for our Green Streets project. This is on the north end of Las Virgenes. And with that, I wanted to give a shout out to Terry and all the work he does for the cities. Terry, I was thinking about it. I think you're a time traveler is what you are. You're working in the past, you're living in the present, you're planning for the future. And we thank you for that. I was explaining to a colleague, a new coworker recently, about the Measure M and other prop monies that we use. And Terry, you're always looking so many cycles out, and we're doing groundbreakings years after that. And then the project takes forever, but thank you for helping us and guiding us through that process.
Thank you, Kindon. Okay, and I'd like to make a comment. I want to thank the governing board, our alternates, our city managers, our representatives, our agency partners, and last but not least, our executive director, Terry, for their work this year. I'm incredibly proud of us, and I just want us to remember one thing: we are stronger together. So thank you all. And as far as future meeting dates go, traditionally we don't have a December meeting because it's really difficult to get a quorum during the holidays. So the next tech meeting will be on January 3rd, and the next governing board meeting will be January 16th. And with that said, if there's no further business, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Happy holidays.